time to join us today for the Plus Group webinar series. Today's topic is you can make a sale right now by mining rather than prospecting. Our presenter today is Mr. Tom Petersen. He's a senior partner at Petersen International Underwriters. Please note that all lines will be muted during this webinar. If you would like to ask a question, please go to the question pane on your control panel and type it in. We will address the questions at the end of the webinar. Also note that we are recording this webinar in case you have to leave early, and you will receive it tomorrow. Usually takes about 24 hours to process. You will receive a link that will have both the audio and the presentation. Okay, I'm going to now turn this over to Mr. Tom Petersen.
Thank you, Tracy, and good morning or afternoon, depending upon what part of the country you're in today. My name is Tom Petersen, and as Tracy mentioned, I'm with Petersen International Underwriters. Petersen International Underwriters is a specialty disability insurance underwriting company, and we are a proud carrier partner with the Plus Group. So today, we'd like to present to you mining for dollars. Now, here's the general premise and probably what intrigued you to participate in this webinar. You know, every one of us are in the business of sales, and every one of us wants to make sales, right? Of course we do. And we're always looking for a magic bullet to make sales quicker, easier, faster, less painful in some cases, but definitely we want to make more sales. So there are a couple of ways of doing that. The first is prospecting. And prospecting is an important part of our process in sales, and that it's for gaining business. Prospecting has several good things and several bad things about it. The first is you don't have any control. You don't have any control over the person itself because you don't know them yet. They don't know you. You are in the process of finding these types of people. It is a constant exploration to find new business. You might go through advertising, you might do cold calling, you might do direct mail solicitations, but somehow, some way, you are searching for more business. Now, in the world of prospecting, volume is the key. You have to keep adding more and more people to the quiver in order to make more sales. So that's our first step, and as I mentioned, a very important step of our business world. But there's a second part of ways to do sales, and that's by mining rather than prospecting. In the world of mining, we have a little bit different scenario here. Number one, we have some control. In other words, mining is utilizing existing clients. So you have already established a relationship. You have already established a rapport and a trust, hopefully. And so in that respect, you have some degree of control with the people there. In other words, if you call them, they are most likely to talk to you on the phone. If you are to send them a letter, they are most likely to look at your letter, versus the prospecting where they don't know who you are, and therefore there's a high degree of probability of them shushing you away and coming back to you some other time. Another part about mining is that you are utilizing your current clients. You're going to utilize them for additional sales, increasing the sales that you already have made with them, and or using them for referral purposes, because the strength of a referral is in the sense that there is a trust between your client and the referral person, where that client will have the ability to introduce you and your degree of rapport is already established. Another thing about mining is it tends to be solution oriented. By that I mean, in prospecting, you have just simply put out to the individual by way of your marketing, your advertising, an idea. You have just said, look, I've got this interesting product. Do you want to talk about it. I have this interesting service. Do you wish to discuss it? In mining, what you are doing is going back to the client and saying, okay, I see this one situation has occurred. Here is something else that you need to be aware of. The real experts in the insurance world at the solutions-oriented process is our property and casualty insurance agents. Now, that's not to say the life and health agents aren't either, but think about this. When you go to Allstate, State Farm, and you buy your auto insurance, it's not long before they're talking to you after they've helped you out with your auto insurance and saying, what about your homeowner's insurance? And that establishes a new discussion and a new dimension where they are looking at solving your total risk management perspective. Next call from them is going to be about your liability insurance, maybe your business coverage. And even, yes, my Allstate agent is chasing me about life insurance right now. But the point is I have a rapport with her, and so I'm more likely to talk to her. Whether I'm interested in life insurance or not with her, I at least have that relationship, and I respect her, and I'm not closed off to listening to her. So, in this sense, working with your existing clients is a very, very powerful tool. The other part about mining is it ties in with your existing business. As I mentioned on the property and casualty side, we start with auto, and then we talk about homeowners and so on. Well, the same thing happens in the world of life and disability and medical insurance. We can add on to our existing business that we've already established. If you look at the $1 Million Roundtable, top of the table producers, in most cases, the top of the table people usually have fewer but much larger clients. Why is that? Because they have found it's the traditional 80-20 rule. 20% of your clients will produce 80% of your business. And the top of the table producers understand that and tap into that. In other words, they go back to the same client and say, what else can I do for you? Here is something else you should be thinking of or considering. It's very powerful to be working with your existing clients. Now, in the world of disability insurance, there are a number of different problems that can occur, but one of the number one disability insurance problems that we see is not enough coverage. With the not enough coverage, we then look at what is the number one sale add-on that you have the ability to do, and that is to add excess coverage. So herein lies an interesting situation. When you talk to your client about disability insurance, oftentimes they're going to say to you, show me the maximum. And I have yet to ever hear any client ever say, you know what, I want just a little piece of my disability insurance covered, just a tiny piece. I don't need much, I just need a little. It would be much like saying, I know my home needs homeowner's insurance, but really I just need to cover the garage. That's it, just the garage. Yeah, I can self-insure, self-fund. I don't see the need for whatever excuse they want to do about the rest of the house. Doesn't work, does it? They need to cover the house. In this case, when they're talking about income protection, they're saying, show me the maximum. Now, here's where you need to get a little creative. You need to start thinking of yourselves not just as an insurance advisor of one product, not just an insurance broker from one carrier, not just one solution and you're moving on. You need to think of yourself like a physician. And as a physician, you need to prescribe a solution. Now, oftentimes that's going to be more than one program or one product. Many insurance professionals are afraid to prescribe a full, total solution of multiple plans and multiple ideas. And sometimes that's usually out of fear of possibly losing the case in the first place that they started out with. But can you imagine if the roles were reversed and a physician said to you, you need to take these 4 pills. this is one for your high blood pressure, this is one for your cholesterol, and this is one for your heart, and this is one for something else, and of those 4. And you look at them in the eye and you say, you know what, I don't need 4 of them. I will be fine with 2 of them. So I understand what you're telling me, doctor, but I just want to take 2 of them. Now that doesn't make sense either, does it? The insurance client that you have, they contacted you. They're asking you for your help and your advice. Or they have brought you in to give them advice, or you have solicited it directly. So don't ever be afraid to say you need a total protection plan for fear of losing the one. You need to speak the truth and show them completely and totally what they need to have. And as I said in the beginning, that may take more than one product. This is also a great reason why working with an organization such as the Plus Group is so valuable, because the Plus Group brings to the table multiple carriers for multiple solutions and multiple ways of utilizing those programs. So again, it might not just be the maximum from one carrier. You may need to utilize the maximum from multiple carriers. But to understand this, to make it all fit together and make sense, need to understand how much do we need to replace. Now, in the world of our economics, when we look at economists, when we look at financial experts, and even within our own insurance industry, we find that 2/3 of income is what's needed to get replaced. 2/3. That means the majority of our income is needed just to stay alive, and that replacing of those 2/3 is important. Now notice, in any of these examples, nowhere did we say a dollar amount. We said a percentage, 2/3 of their income. This is very important to understand because it will make sense in just a second here. Oh, sorry about that. I accidentally tripped over my microphone here. All right, so how do we address the replacements of this 2/3? Well, traditionally there are 2 ways we do this. We tend to look for 2 main types of disability insurance: group disability and individual disability insurance. Let's take a quick look at group disability insurance. Sometimes you will have people say, I have disability insurance through work. And through work, what you want to understand is that, number one, it's only going to cover your W-2 income. The other thing that group disability insurance does is it caps out. It says up to, and there's a dollar amount limit. That dollar amount could be $5,000, $10,000, might be $15,000, but very rarely is it more than that. So group disability insurance fits a very specific need. It was designed for the rank and file people of a company, and for the rank and file, it works wonderfully. But what do you do when you have a manager, an executive, an owner, a president, whose income is far above and beyond that $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 cap, and who puts money into a pension plan, which is not counted, or gets 1099 income through bonuses, which isn't counted in the group disability world? So group disability works well in some cases, but not necessarily for the higher income individuals. In comes the individual disability insurance market. Now, even within the traditional individual disability markets, there's an interesting phenomenon that happens. If we say 2/3 of their income is what's needed, that's the need line that you see before you, the blue line. But as a person's income goes up, the percentage that is traditionally offered by most companies goes down. So a person making $75,000 a year of income probably is close to the 2/3. They might be down a little bit, but they're somewhere in that range. As the income starts going up, you can see a person who makes $500,000 a year of income is lucky if they can even get 40% of their income covered. And as we said before, based upon economists and our third-party sources and even our own insurance industry, 2/3 is what they should be having for adequate amounts of income protection. So what do we do about this? Well, in comes the tiered approach to larger incomes. Now, larger is not necessarily huge incomes. They're just larger than what we found in most cases of that the group disability takes care of. So here's our first example of Tier 1. Tier 1 is our traditional group LTD plan. And it covers a lot of incomes very nicely, but it caps out. And in this example, it caps out at $10,000. Now, if your income is about $60,000, $70,000 a year or less, that works perfect. So that's great. So if you do have income protection from work with group LTD, you might have enough coverage. But what if your income's a little bit higher than that? What if your income needs an additional amount? What do we do? Well, in comes Tier 2. Tier 2 is our traditional individual disability insurance that layers on top of the group LTD that can bring them up to whatever the issue and participation limit is of that individual disability market. In this particular example, $25,000 is going to be our maximum. Now, $25,000 of protection is very adequate for people whose income is about $150,000 or less. Again, a higher income, and it's getting adequately protected. But we still have people out there whose incomes exceed that level. And in comes Tier 3. Tier 3 is the excess disability insurance that we talked about earlier. Tier 3 can layer in a couple of different formats. In this particular example, we are taking someone up to $50,000 a month of income. In other words, it's $25,000 on top of the individual and the group to give them $50,000 a month. Now, $50,000 a month of income, just to give you a perspective there, is a person who makes probably about $700,000, $800,000 a year of income. Again, a large income. It's not necessarily a gigantic income in comparison to some people that are out there. So we actually have, beyond Tier 3, we actually have a Tier 4. And a Tier 4 can go as high as you possibly need to go to fit within the 2/3 rule, the 65% or so of income, and basically as high as the income can usually justify. Now, in our example here, just so for clarification, Tier 3 from our office actually can produce a benefit up to age 65, and actually now up to age 70, whereas our Tier 4 is limited to a maximum of 10 years of benefits, and that's why the blocks look the way they do. But the cool thing here is it doesn't matter what the income is. If they need the protection, they need the protection. And the tiered approach is definitely the way to go. So let me give you an example rather than the esoteric bars that we were just looking at, and kind of put something into perspective here. So here we have a physician in the classic proverbial illustration of a physician. And here this physician's income is $600,000 a year. Now $600,000, I think most, if not all of you will agree, is not a small income, but it is not in any way a huge, gigantic income. It's a very good income to have. Based on our 2/3 rule, the monthly income should be $50,000 a month that breaks down to $50,000 a month, which means if we utilize our 2/3 rule, the benefits that are needed is $32,500 a month. Now again, if we go back to our group and our traditional individual markets, we're going to be lucky if we can get up to $25,000 a month. That leaves a shortfall of $7,500. This is where the excess tier 3 comes in to layer on top of that. The both the tier 3 and tier 4 can be sold on an individual program. It can be sold in multi-life, and it can be sold in a GSI format as well if there's a group of people. Now, where does all this fit into, making me money now, make it easier, make it quicker? And it goes back to this mining situation. If you look at your existing clients, I will guarantee you within your file drawers you will find clients that already have a need for excess coverage. You don't have to go find new ones. Take the ones that you have there. And here's what you're looking for. Mining tip number 1. Anyone who's got an income of $150,000 or more is definitely eligible for an excess policy for a tier 3 or a tier 4. Easily. Now, it is arguable that we could do excess coverage for incomes less than this. Yes, that is true. But from a business standpoint, we find that people look at the excess amount and the premium that they pay, and when it's $500 to $1,000, $1,500 a month benefit more for the premium, they tend to kind of maybe push it aside because they don't see the cost to benefit ratio. But at that $150,000 of income, they start seeing a deficit of about $1,500, $2,000 a month in benefits that they should have. And here's where you can layer that in and on top of their existing coverage already. Here's another mining tip with excess coverage. If you got one, what about the rest? What we mean by that is you're talking to a client and have a client who is part of a group. And why not talk to the rest of the group? Again, you've got your client who can introduce you and put you in touch with them. And when there's 5 or more people, you can get a multi-life discount. That's not just true with the excess coverage. That's true in the traditional admitted markets as well. So again, if you have a client who is part of a group, have them introduce you to the rest of the group. It could lower their premium, make you a hero, and you pick up multiple sales at the same time. And again, that's with the standard markets as well as the excess markets as well. And another mining tip, the senior executive of the firm. Well, when you're talking to them, what about all the highly compensated managers? Same idea as what we just talked about in the group before that. But here we're talking about the senior executive who goes, aha, I need the more coverage. And you've now established them as a good client. Say, you know what about introducing me to the rest of the managers in this company? Or maybe there's enough of them, whether they're the higher compensated managers or maybe they're partners of law firms, but maybe an excess GSI coverage program might fall into place here. The point is you have lots of possibilities based on an existing client that's already in hand here. With our Tier 3 and Tier 4, we can also adapt that into the business coverage world. Buy, sells, business overhead expense, and key person policies. Let's take a quick look at that. In the world of business overhead, disability business overhead expense programs, typically they cap out at about $50,000 a month in benefits. Well, what if that business happens to be the situation where you need more? And in this particular example, they happen to need $60,000 a month. Well, excess disability insurance can be placed right on top of that. So here's my example. Let's suppose you already have this client. Let's suppose you go to your file drawer and say, yes, I sold this person a business overhead expense plan, and we capped out. We hit the maximum. But did you hit the maximum they need, or did you hit the maximum that that one policy provided for you? If it's the maximum if it wasn't the maximum they need, you can layer on top of that right now. Going back to them, say, you need more protection. Here's how we can add it on real easy. The other neat thing is in the world of business overhead expense, at least in our world, is that 5 or more people in the same profession we can still take a look at. Have you ever bumped into a business situation where when you have more than 5 physicians in a physician's group and you're told no, you can't get overhead expense? Well, the answer is yes, you can. And again, if you've established a relationship with that person, here's a way to go back into them and talk to them about more coverage, additional coverage. Let me move up to disability buy-sells. It's very common in the world of a business to have a buy-sell agreement, and it's oftentimes protected due to the death of one of the owners by using life insurance, of course. But then oftentimes people forget about the discussion on disability. What would happen if a permanent disability occurs? And death and disability are the exact same condition to the company. The person's dead from a business perspective. However, their needs are now different. The dead person, the estate gets paid off and off they go. A disabled person might have a new voice that's going to still be trying to control that company, and yet they're not participating in with the operation of the business anymore. You need to get that permanently disabled person out of the operation so the business can continue on. There's so many times, though, we hear people say, I need $10 million of life insurance and $2 million of disability insurance. Really? Why do they only need $2 million if they're disabled versus $10 million if they die? Well, the theory is that at $2 million, they've hit the maximum they can from the disability buy-sell carrier that they went to. Not so. If they need $10 million, they need $10 million if that's the price they need. So again, excess coverage can be put right on top of that. If you have an existing client who's tapped out at $2 million and their company's value is more than that, this is a very simple discussion to have with them to say, I can get you another $1 million, $2 million, $5 million, whatever we can justify, whatever you need to have. And we can add it on right now. Pretty darn cool. Now, one of the other things that does come up in the world of buy-sells is that sometimes you might have the limit issues. You might have an elimination period issue. You might have some carriers will disallow family businesses or large age differentials. And this is one of my favorites. This is something to watch for, too, if you've got existing buy-sell clients. What you'll find in most programs is that starting at age 60, the benefit that they provide starts dropping down. It usually drops 20% each year between age 60 and 65, with the whole theory that at age 65 they're retired. Really? Do you know anyone older than 65 still working? Yep, a lot of people. For those of you who know my operation, my father, Harold Petersen, is 86 and comes in the office every day. 65 isn't the end of the buy-sell agreement. So if you have a client who's got a buy-sell, and even if it's sufficient amounts right now, as soon as they hit 60 and it starts dropping down, you can be the hero and say, I can keep that number at the same level for you, to keep it level until you no longer need it at all. Pretty darn cool. So here's some additional mining tips I want to bring to the table here. First, become the physician. Prescribe total solutions, not just one solution, one product, one idea, and be done with it. Definitely, take on the approach of let me look at everything for you. Number 2, your file drawers are full of sales opportunities. In fact, I want to challenge you right now, right here, that I want you to today go back to your file drawers right now and look at all your clients that you have there. I will bet you will find existing clients who need more personal disability or more business coverage already. What an easy way to make an additional sale. You didn't have to go find them. They're already there. I will bet you will find existing clients who can include their peers. In other words, look for that executive and think to yourself, is that executive part of a management team? Are they part of a medical group? Are they part of something that I only got one out of the 4, 5, 10, 15 principals or main people in there? If so, Here's your opportunity. Go back to them and say, I did well for you. I'd like to do well for your partners as well. You want to prospect for your continued growth. As I said in the beginning, prospecting is still important, but it's not going to be all or the majority of your sales. It's designed to help continue the growth of your business. You mine for more sales. You mine for the easier sales. I want to share with you one last little sales gem to take away with you that'll help you make a quick, easy, and profitable sale. If you have any clients that have had personal disability insurance that was placed in the last 90 days and they are eligible for excess coverage, we may be able to offer them an automatic issue of excess coverage with no health underwriting, even if they're just a single person. Now, how cool is that? Last 90 days, you've placed any DI cases. Look at them. If they're eligible for more, again, we might be able to get you the coverage with no further health underwriting. How cool is that? So lastly, we are just one segment of the disability insurance markets. We plug holes that exist out there. There are lots of wonderful programs and lots of disability products that are out there from major companies and major players. This is why working with the Plus Group, you can get the full array of products that are available, and we just happen to be proud partners with them where we can solve some of those unique situations. But ladies and gentlemen, I encourage you, go back through those file drawers and you'll make some quick, easy sales before the end of the year. Thank you very much. Tracy, back to you.
Again, if you have a question, please go to your control panel and type it in, and we can address it. I think you did a good job, Tom. I don't see any questions. Again, you can just type in a question and we'll answer it. If not, again, we appreciate Tom and Petersen International for helping us out today. If you have other questions about this webinar or future webinars, you can go to our website at www.plusgroupus.com, or you can contact your local Plus Group office. Again, Tom, thank you, and everyone, thank you for joining us today. Have a great day.
Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.